Well, in case you had any doubt about where the president's allegiances lie in that Texas Senate race, it's proven to be much more competitive than Senator Ted Cruz probably thought. He leads by all of a point in the latest polls. The president's going to try to help him out, picking, he says in a tweet, the biggest stadium in Texas we can find. As you know, Ted has my complete and total endorsement. His opponent is a disaster for Texas, weak on the Second Amendment, crime, borders, military, and vets. Of course, as you know, Democrats are salivating. They might even have a shot in this reddest of states to pick up a Senate seat. It seems unthinkable, but of course, it's been a crazy year thus far. To Washington Examiner chief political correspondent, Fox News contributor Byron York. Byron, the fact that Cruz is in the position he's in is remarkable, but what do you make of it?
It is pretty surprising. Real Clear Politics classifies this race as a toss-up. You mentioned the one-point poll. All of the polls in the past couple of months have showed Ted Cruz with a very, very narrow lead, 1, 2, 3 points. So clearly the president doing this, saying he's going to be devoting presidential time in October when the campaign is really, really going, indicates some level of concern. There are a lot of big stadiums in Texas. I don't know which one is the biggest, but it's pretty big.
You know, O'Rourke has sort of galvanized the levy. He gets a lot of praising pieces and a lot of popular media. I think Vogue is the latest stop where people are referring to him as sort of like a Barack Obama type candidate. What did you make of that?
Well, he does have a lot of charm. Apparently, he seems to certainly has charmed a lot of the media. Has either an Obama-esque or a Kennedy-esque, or however you want to describe it, demeanor. But he does, you know, every couple of years someone emerges as kind of a darling who will lead Democrats back to power, and you know, maybe he's the one. But you have to think in the long run. It's likely that even if it's close, the Republican will take Texas. So
is a lot of this really born of fractious issues that Ted Cruz has? I mean, of course, they had a very acrimonious relationship, he and the president, when they were running for the Republican nomination, and it got nasty. And Texans, of course, think very highly of the president. He polls very highly in the state. He did win the state. I'm wondering if that is coming back to bite him, even though really almost since his inauguration, the president's inauguration, the two have patched over whatever differences they had and moved on, and very much in simpatico since. What's going on? You
know, they did. And Donald Trump had, I believe, 4 rivals who are now in the Senate. Let's see, Cruz, Rand Paul, Lindsey Graham, and Marco Rubio. And all of them, in one way or another, have made their peace with Donald Trump. And some of them, like Lindsey Graham, have become quite friendly with him. And Ted Cruz has become a real supporter. So my sense is that that whole Lion Ted stuff is pretty over. You have to remember that day in Indiana in May of 2016. This is when Donald Trump was going to basically wrap up the nomination. Cruz just let out on him. He just let loose. I mean, just weeks and months of anger and resentment coming out. But it seems to me that the last year and a half or so have pretty much put that behind them.
Yeah, and I remember Mike Pence played an odd role there, supporting Ted Cruz, but not
Mike
zealously.
Pence was kind of keeping his head down.
Right,
you know?
Exactly. Real quickly, while I still have you, my friend, there is all this rumor mongering going on that Bob Mueller does something today, and you know, he's got to move fast if you want to do something so that you're not interfering or disrupting the election cycle. What do you think of all that?
Well, let me say that I, like all these other people who are talking about this, don't know what's going on inside the Mueller office, but it seems to me that most of this talk is simply based on the calendar. There's this idea that Mueller will not take any public action, make any big move in his investigation after Labor Day, which is Monday. So today would be the last day, and they say, well, let's keep our eyes out for today. But I don't think it's based on anything other than the calendar.
Do you think, calendar or no, that does put pressure on something going on?
Yeah, look, I think Mueller does intend to go by Justice Department informal guidelines. This is not written in stone in the Justice Department that you can't do anything big for 60 days before an election. But my guess is he does intend to abide by that. This does not mean he shuts down. It means he doesn't do anything big and splashy. But the Mueller investigation will continue.
All right. Byron, have a good weekend. Always good chatting.
Thank you, Neil.